möttes. Våra blickar bara möttes. Kommer du ihåg det igen? Kommer du ihåg igen? Du vill ha ice and little fingers. Då du vet det chalas. All in, ingen broms, schackmatt på din vänsterhand. Du är så viktig baby. Ja, du är allians. Du är försiktig baby. Men du gav mig en chans. Det är 50-50 baby. Men det är balans. Jag växlar upp med dig baby. Ingen annan. Det var fan ingen dans på någon ros innan jag träffade någon som dig. Som dig baby. Det var fan ingen dans på någon ros.
Welcome, brilliant women in business. I'm so excited to have you here, and I just can't wait to introduce you to our guest. She is absolutely amazing. She's worked in marketing for Google for over 3 years. She's a Cornell University alumni turned personal branding expert, marketing and mindset coach. I introduce to you the brilliant Stefanie Pinsley. Stefanie, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
I am so happy to have you. I came across your content on social media, and I was just so inspired by your story. With you having built your career to the level that you did, and landing a position at the coveted Google, which is like, I don't know anyone that works until now, I don't know anyone that works at Google in like real life. So I was just like, she quit her job at Google. What? Take us back to, well, first of all, from leaving Cornell University, which is obviously very prestigious, what was your plan when you went to Cornell? Did you plan on climbing the corporate ladder, or was like entrepreneurship on the radar at some point?
Entrepreneurship was not on the radar at all. So I initially was very into marketing. I really kind of went straight to marketing as a concentration as an applied economics and management major. Mm-hmm. I loved it. So I knew I wanted to do marketing. I saw myself working at a company like a Warby Parker or Glossier, because at the time these guys were like really killing it with their marketing, and I was so inspired by them. Applied to both, heard back from neither. They're lost. No, I'm just joking. But I ended up taking a little bit of a break because most of the people in my graduating class had their jobs figured out by December. So like 6 months before graduating, and I was not that person. And so I graduated, didn't have a job figured out, and I was like, you know what? I have my whole life to work. Let me take some time to relax and just hang out with my family. So that's what I did. And then, I started applying to jobs, and one of my friends from Cornell, Lawrence, was like, Steph, this APMM role at Google, Associate Product Marketing Manager, it's a rotational program, would be great for you. And I was like, there's no way. I don't want to move to Mountain View, et cetera, et cetera. But I ended up applying the last day. I just submitted my resume, and I ended up getting through the interview process and getting the job, which to me was like the ultimate win. I'm like, I've got my career figured out straight out of college. Like, I felt like on top of the world. And for a while, I loved it. I had some great experiences there, but that was really sort of how I ended up there post Cornell.
So corporate was like definitely on the radar, not at all thinking about entrepreneurship. Yeah. So fast forward us to the point where you decide that you're leaving Google, because obviously it's not easy to land a position. What made you start to feel like perhaps you'd be better off, or you'd be happier doing something else?
Okay, so let me take you back to March of 2020, which I'm sure we all have a very distinct memory of. But I ended up moving back from San Francisco, where I was working and living, to New York. I moved back home with my parents in my childhood bedroom in Westchester, New York. And I'm just here, going about my job, trying my best to really, do the best I could. But at this point, the nature of my role changed quite a bit. My team changed. The work I was doing changed, and the people I worked with were great, but the work that I did, at no fault to my manager or anyone else, it just wasn't for me. And so I have ADHD, and the longer I tried to push past that and work through things that I felt very bored by, unsatisfied by, didn't feel like I had an impact in, I just got really, really burnt out. And so I tried to take a mental health day here and there until eventually, come August of 2020, I reached a point where I was like, that was it. I knew I had to take a leave of absence, and I felt like such a failure. I was like, something's wrong with me. Why aren't I not pushing hard enough? And I was just thinking that I was the reason this wasn't working. And so while I thought at the moment this was like the worst case scenario and that my entire sort of, career journey was just completely shattered, it was actually such a huge blessing in disguise, because on this leave of absence, I got a ton of time to reflect and understand, get to know who Stefanie was again. Because number one, I think we don't get to understand who we are, especially when we go straight from picking a major that we choose usually before our brains have even finished developing,
Right.
to choosing to like going to, the best job we get, following that path. And then we don't always get opportunities to discover ourselves more deeply and figure out what are our real superpowers and values. What's our ideal work style? What do we need from a career?
Yeah.
And so that was what I started to learn about myself. I did a ton of, introspective work while on this leave of absence. Simultaneously, I started posting on TikTok because I saw an opportunity there to grow an audience. This was when TikTok was really blowing up because, again, everyone's back home on their phones during the pandemic. And so people were growing these huge audiences. And I saw an opportunity to potentially grow an audience. I didn't know what it would do for me, but I also just craved that creative freedom that I didn't have at my job. And so I posted content. I started adding value in marketing, branding, mindset. And I grew an audience of about 70,000 followers, but that didn't happen right away. This was like a slow progression. But by the first like 2,000 to 5,000 followers, I started to notice something really strange. I started getting messages from my audience and all of these really sincere comments of thanks and sharing the impact I had with my content. And I was getting people reaching out about potential business partnerships. I had client interest when I I hadn't launched anything. There were people, trying to feature me in press. And so I was like, hold on, there's something here. This was the beginning of my epiphany of realizing how powerful building a personal brand is on your career. But after I built that audience to about 70,000 followers, this was by February of 2021, I went back to Google after almost a 5-month leave of absence in December of 2020.
Okay.
And gave it another shot. I kind of knew it wasn't going to work, but I was like, let me just go back, end the relationships on a good note, because I loved my team. I did not want to leave on bad terms. And so in February of 2021, I decided I'm going to quit my job because I had grown an audience that was warm and that was ready for my offers. I also had reached out to an old Cornell professor expressing interest in finding a business coach and seeing if she had any recommendations. And she happened to instead direct me to this free women's entrepreneurship course, this 12-week online program that she was running through the Bank of America and Cornell. And so I was doing that. And then I hired my own business coach, Jess Glazer, to help me build my first group coaching program. And she's incredible. And so that really was the foundation I'd set up for myself at that point of quitting, and I felt comfortable to leave.
Wow. So that is so incredible that you actually started out intending on being part of corporate America, and then like you had this entire entrepreneurial shift like in less than a year. So
Yeah.
you'd gone to school for all of these years, you prepared for this career and completely pivoted into a completely new direction in less than a year, but it sounds like it was an incredibly fulfilling time for you, and you reached back to some of your network that you'd already built in order to help take you to the next level. So shout out to your professor, first of all, for like just
Professor Schrader. I love her to death. She's an angel. She's the best.
I know eCornell, this program that you're referring to, eCornell has
You know it?
Yes,
Oh,
I
that's so cool. I love
yeah,
that.
as a matter of fact, it's making its way around the internet like wildfire. I remember when Bank of America launched that program in partnership with eCornell. I remember that anybody could like just get right in and go straight through and you're just in. They have a wait list now.
Yeah.
And so it's really picked up a lot of steam, and it's been really impacting the development of women, transitioning and learning about entrepreneurship. And I
Yes.
did not know until just now that that was your professor.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were
Know
so
that?
familiar with it. I've never
Yeah.
met anyone that has. That's so cool. I
Yes.
love that it's gaining that traction. I think
Mhm.
it's such an invaluable program. I
Mhm.
still go back and reference the lessons all the time because the content is incredible. So I love
Yeah.
that. Shout
And
out
it's
to
a
them. Shout out to eCornell, Bank of America, and Professor Streeter.
absolutely. And it's a real course. Like, don't think that you're gonna get in there and it's gonna be a cakewalk. No, this is a real, like, you have homework.
Oh yeah. I built a whole business plan in that course, and that was really so foundational for me. And also the mindset work we did in that course is still stuff I teach to my clients today, because there was some really critical stuff we learned about, like reprogramming your subconscious, understanding what limiting beliefs you have, because especially since this is targeted to women, they know that women are already at a disadvantage in entrepreneurship. We doubt ourselves so much more. We have just a lot less to point to, I think. And so I'm so grateful that I had that experience and that it's growing to others because it was invaluable to me.
Oh yes, it's making its rounds. I just heard about it.
Um,
Actually, I just saw something about it yesterday. Or someone was talking about being on the wait list for it, and I was like, wow, I remember when there was no wait list for that. So
or you,
it's
how did you hear about it?
I think social media. I think
Oh,
somebody
really?
shared about it during the pandemic.
Okay,
During the
cool.
pandemic, somebody shared about it on social media. So I was aware that that program was out there. And I do know people, I'm connected to people who have taken it. And I just saw one of my friends just completed it. So that's so wild.
Cool. I love that
Small
connection.
world. But listen, I love that because, right, this is all around, the work that we aim to do, which is help elevate women into entrepreneurship, as even if it's something that is like a side hustle, or you're like testing to see what it is that you want. Just the option is amazing. I love, and it's
Yeah.
free, so that's so cool. So talk to us. Okay, so um at this point, you've made the decision that you're definitely going to be leveraging this audience that you built. um how did you, once you left Google, like, how did you fund that transition? Because, like, obviously, I mean, you didn't have a job, you hadn't launched anything yet. It sounds like you left
Yeah.
Google before you launched. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I didn't feel right starting my entrepreneurial journey when I was at Google for some reason. I don't know why, but I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt like I shouldn't.
Mhm.
But I ended up saving up a lot of money because which I am so grateful for, and I recognize this is a huge privilege. But when I moved back home, I saved so much money because I was still working at Google for about a year, and I was getting my full paycheck, but not paying San Francisco rent. And that was huge. So I saved up a lot of money. But in terms of funding, the beautiful thing about group coaching programs and some online businesses like my own, you
Mhm.
don't need funding, almost none. I mean, of course, there are startup costs for, things like setting up your company, which you don't even have to do right away. I did it right away, but I don't think it's totally necessary.
Mhm.
Although I'm not qualified to really give solid advice on that. So maybe take that with a grain of salt. But
Don't worry,
I
we
did,
have an attorney on the summit.
there we go, reference her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't really find myself needing a ton of funding. I needed funding for my coach, my first business coach. That was not cheap. And then of course, sometimes I worked with freelancers, but this was all really bootstrap. I bought things like Kajabi, which isn't cheap, but
Mhm.
overall it wasn't a huge startup cost, and being able to save that money was immensely helpful.
Mm. So, okay, so your coach, you self-funded your coaching.
Mhm.
So you paid your coach out of your own pocket. You pay for all of your like software, and because your business, you started out online, so it wasn't big brick and mortar. You didn't have huge overhead costs, that
Not at
would be
all.
associated with that. Talk to me about, like, how did you find your first client? Who was your first client?
You know what's so funny about this? My first client found me through a podcast that I was on, one of the first podcasts I'd ever been on, which, by the way, I am such a huge fan of podcast tours for growing your personal brand, marketing your business, and they're way easier to do than you might think. But I ended up just getting on a podcast, and this girl heard me, and her name was Alyssa. She is a pelvic floor physical therapist, and she reached out to me, and the rest is history. And it was really cool getting to know her. She's such a lovely woman, and we really got to grow a lot together. It's like both of us, right? Because she was my first client, and I was helping her move from 9 to 5 to her own entrepreneurial journey through the work that we did. So it was definitely a very transformative experience for both of us.
That's so cool. And I always talk about networking and joint ventures. And I think that when you're new to business, like you don't feel like you're qualified enough to like partner with someone or network with someone. Like I don't know what it's a mindset. What it is a mindset thing.
Always.
It is it's always a mindset thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so surprised by how much people are afraid to like do something like a podcast interview. So I love that that's how your first client came about and you shared that with us, because I'm always telling people like, listen, you have to tell people what you do.
Yeah. I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to talk about your offers. And trust me, I've been there. I was like, no, I don't need to sell anything. They'll find me. No, they won't. No, they won't. But again, it's a mindset thing.
Yeah. So when you had the offer to do the podcast, were you like nervous? Were you scared about it?
I was a little nervous. Like the first two podcasts, I think that was the second podcast I'd ever done. And I definitely was nervous. But actually, podcasting was what showed me that I really wanted to get into speaking, because after I did a few more, I started to get very comfortable speaking and conversing and interviewing other people, because then I started my own. And so it eventually became something I loved and looked forward to. But at the beginning, I was so afraid, and I didn't think I was qualified either. I actually think they found me. I didn't pitch myself. It was because I was talking about my journey quitting Google, and that at that time I was getting a lot of reach on my socials because that one video blew up a lot. And so they found me, but I was definitely not pitching myself because, like you said, I didn't feel like, who am I to, put myself in this position?
Yeah, that's so common. And it's so funny how we're able, like, even though you help clients to, make that transition, you help clients go full time in their business, like that's what you help do. When it comes to you, it's different. Like you can help your clients do all kinds of things that you don't do. Why is that?
For me personally, as a marketing coach, well, I'm not so much anymore, although I sort of am, because personal branding and marketing, there's quite a bit of an overlap. I was so great about building marketing plans with my clients and really helping them go through all of the due diligence that is required to have effective marketing. But for some reason, I couldn't apply that same discipline to myself. And when it came to like thinking about my own marketing plan, it's like my brain went blank. And like the 8 years of marketing I had, marketing experience I had with a wide range of companies, like solopreneurs to Fortune 500s, it all went out the window. Not entirely, but it is a lot harder. And that's why I love hiring coaches. And I almost always have a coach now, because I've realized that pays off it pays such great dividends that you just go so much farther faster. Because I think, especially when we're trying to apply our own discipline, there just becomes a lot of limiting beliefs and blocks, because we feel like we have to be perfect at it. We feel like it has to be excellent. And then we end up procrastinating and doubting ourselves. And again, it's the mindset stuff. It's always the mindset stuff. That's why this is such a huge part of what I teach in personal branding, because if your mindset's not in a good place, it's the biggest block.
Yep. That's so funny, because like as you're speaking about everything that like happens in your mind, it's like almost as if you know me, even though we like don't know each other. And it's because it's the same way for like almost everybody. We all do the same thing. It's like definitely, but if you can think about it this way, if everybody's brain is like doing the same thing and we're hardwired to have these same blocks that come up, then that means that there's solutions that's going to work for the majority of us. We just have to, find them and implement them. And so that's why I love what you do, because marketing and mindset um, are key in business. Like, you really can't get anywhere unless you have both of those things in alignment when you show up to
Yeah.
serve. So that's so cool. I want to talk about what advice you would give to someone who's thinking about going like 100% in their business. Like, either they've been playing with an idea or they've been tinkering with a business on the side of their career, and they want to go full time, because I know not everybody wants to. Some people love their jobs and they like to have their passions on the side. But for those who, like, no, this is what they want to go full time in entrepreneurship, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think it's such a personal transition.
Mm.
Everyone's very different. Everyone's financial situations are very different. And so I think you have to have a good sense of, number one, do you have the resources to go full time? What I don't want to do, because I think some people took this quitting Google video as like, just quit your job without a plan and just jump straight head first. And that's not what I advise at all, because I think if you are going full time into entrepreneurship, you have to do it very thoughtfully. You have to do it with an awareness of yourself. And again, like, what are your core values? What's your why? Is this actually giving you a sense of purpose? Because I promise you, if you're not feeling a sense of purpose with this business you want to go full time on, you're not going to most likely be able to do it in the long run. I found that. So get a strong sense of why, ensure that you have the proper resources set up ahead of time. And also, I think the mindset work is the most crucial, because the jump from employee to entrepreneur is a really difficult one to make. For me personally, again, as someone with ADHD, procrastination was a big issue for me. Time management was a big issue for me, because without a boss saying like, hey, Steph, I need this on my desk at this time, I would kind of delay. And so I think you really have to be able to know yourself and be able to go into it with a clear mind of, okay, maybe these are the limiting beliefs I have. What are those and how can I tackle them? Because if you go into it with a lot of self-doubts and fears and limiting beliefs, then that is going to impact your journey big time. I think when you become an entrepreneur, you sort of realize that it's a journey of personal development and growth. It forces you to confront your shadows and your fears, and it forces you to grow a lot. It kind of puts you on like the super highway towards personal development. And so knowing yourself, knowing that you get a good sense of what your purpose is, what your why is, and also be sure you have a product market fit. Be sure that when you're coming to the market and you have this offer that you're quitting your job for, that there is going to be an audience, a large enough audience that wants to buy it. And so doing that research ahead of time is so important, but also you have to be able to know what is the right messaging that's going to land with my audience. I think messaging is one of the hardest things that we often get wrong, and that can be a huge downfall for your business and your sales. And so if you have a product market fit, you know your audience well, and you know what their problems are, their immediate problems that they feel like that they need to solve now, not future problems, but immediate problems that they are inclined to solve, then you can craft messaging specific to them, because the messaging and the positioning is everything. So product market fit, get your mindset in check, get your limiting beliefs, really work through. And I actually this is something we should put in the resource guide that I actually pulled partly from the eCornell women's entrepreneurship thing, because this changed the game for me. This activity, it helped me identify my limiting beliefs and then reprogram them, figure out where they came from. That's almost the most important part, is like, where is this coming from? Because often then you see, oh, this belief is not even valid. I don't have to be held back by this. So yeah, get your limiting beliefs in check, and then again, get your finances right. Be sure that you're ready to make that leap.
Ooh, that's so good. That is so good. Like, that's solid. I have to say that's solid advice. And definitely, so for the resource guide, you guys, if you're watching and you like don't know what we're talking about, there is a resource guide that comes along with the VIP replay. You get the replay of this interview and all of the rest of the interviews. If you grab the replay, it comes with the resource guide, which is a PDF download that is going to link you to all of the speakers, everything that they have for free, We have some coupon codes in there. We have all kinds of stuff in there. So definitely grab the replay. If you're here because you got an email from Stefanie or she posted about it, make sure that you go to the link that she sends you to grab it. This little special piece about working through these limiting beliefs is not in there just yet, but
No,
I'm
but it
gonna
will
get
be.
it.
No, it will be. It's so huge. It changed my life, honestly, because it helped me understand that I wasn't lacking ambition and
Yeah.
I wasn't, lazy, because that's what I thought.
Yeah.
After going through, we don't have to get into how I discovered that, but it was tied to undiagnosed ADHD.
Right. Oh, oh my gosh, I can't even first of all, thank you for sharing that piece because I know that there are so many that have undiagnosed
Especially
ADHD,
women.
especially women, and
Yeah.
and you probably have had like some kind of like question in your mind whether or not you have it. And I think that that really contributes to these self-worth, self-doubt issues that
Huge.
come up. And because they're undiagnosed, like you could conceivably like go about your life for years with these issues that are just not dealt with. So I thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. And then also, connecting the dots, that mindset work, and shadow work and, things like that have been helpful for you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like, I know that people struggle with that. And I know that there's questions out there, like, I don't know. I've questioned myself about it a couple times.
Yeah.
So that's really refreshing to hear. Um, that you broke through, that there is like this fulfillment on the other side of getting through that. And so other people can see it's not something that has to like just like hang over your head forever and ever,
Yeah.
you know.
And honestly, I think it's worth sharing the actual realization I had because I think
Yeah.
this might trigger some things for some people.
Yeah.
If you think you might have undiagnosed ADHD, this story might you might relate to this. As a kid, I could not get my work done until the very bitter last minute. I was a
Mm.
bad procrastinator. And so my parents would always call me a procrastinator. I called myself a procrastinator. I felt like I had terrible time management skills and I was just lazy. Lo and
Mm.
behold, I got diagnosed with ADHD in college. And then I realized once I was medicated, oh, wait, I don't have as many time management issues. I don't have as many procrastination issues because I have the tools to manage my ADHD. And so these stories I told myself that I wasn't ambitious, I wasn't cut out for entrepreneurship, how could I ever manage my time? I was able to put that all to rest because I knew these stories, this childhood experience I had has no bearing on who I am. And if I tell myself I'm a productive person, I'm a motivated person, I'm an ambitious person, and you
Mhm.
embody that, that's who you will be. You are who you tell yourself you are. If you tell
Mm.
yourself you're a procrastinator, guess what? You're going to procrastinate. But if you tell
Mhm.
yourself and you reinforce it, even when you don't believe it, over time, I'm a motivated person, you will start showing up as a motivated person. So be mindful of the stories you tell yourself and where they came from.
I love that so much that that mindset and marketing is tied so closely together in the work that you do. I want to just touch on a little bit about what I do know is going in the PDF in the resource guide. What we plan to go in there is the Niche Navigator Masterclass. Now I like when I heard the name Niche Navigator, I'm like, oh, because I don't know. I haven't seen anything like this on the marketplace where you like literally. I'm gonna let you explain this, but when I think about the name Niche Navigator, first of all, I can't say it. But when I think about it, I'm just like, oh, is this for people who like know they want to do something as a business, but they don't know what yet?
So this is for anyone, yes, who maybe wants to start a business, they don't know what it is yet,
Mhm.
or for people that want to start a personal brand or have started a personal brand, but they don't know what it should be about, what their niche is. And
Mhm.
going into 2023 and beyond, the way that we think about personal brand niches has to change because
Yeah.
a lot of people have this narrative that a niche is restrictive. They feel trapped in it. They feel like it stifles their creativity. And that is not what your niche should do. Your niche should help you become an expert in one specific thing and become known for something. However, it shouldn't feel restrictive. So how can you have both? And that's really what we dive into in this. We figure out whether or not you need a niche for your personal brand at all, because it depends on where you're at in your journey, what size of niche and what kind of niche you need, and then how to really harness your unique gifts for massive growth by finding your best niche. But again, without putting yourself in a box or feeling restricted in any way, because that is not what a niche should be. I actually explained this in the video, but I love to think of it this way. A lot of people think of niches or niches as a box, as a container, as a box. They feel trapped. But I like to think of it more as a container, like a river basin. So it provides the structure, the framework that helps to create flow. It should make content creation easier. It should make showing up easier. It should make your creativity feel easier. Because of the structure, it should never feel restrictive. So that's what we cover, all that and more, in the Niche Navigator Masterclass. I hope you guys check it out, because this is something I've put a lot of love into, and I've already gotten a lot of great feedback on it because I've launched a version of this before, and I know it'll help you a ton, especially if you're in the boat of, I don't know what my business should be or what my personal brand should be.
Yes, I think that's a really, there's many more people who don't know what direction to go in, but they like just know that where they are is not where they want to stay.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, it's most common, that you like aren't really sure exactly what direction to go in. And so I know that was me for a really long time. I just didn't know what in the world I was going to do. Like, what I had to try and figure out what my passion was. And I ask people a lot, like, well, what's your passion? And they don't know. So I love that you put this together, and that just for everyone listening, if they're thinking about like what's a personal brand, like, can you just define that?
Yes. So I think a personal brand is really this intentional effort to create and present a version of yourself that you want to amplify. And this isn't about creating any sort of false persona, but it's about identifying what are the things I want to be known for? How do I want to be perceived? What are the authentic traits within me I want to elevate? And where do I want to grow my influence, my impact, my credibility, my authority? That, I think, is your personal brand. It's a collection of where you show up online, how you show up online, who you are showing up as. And so I think personal brands are so important, especially in this job market, for both entrepreneurs and 9-to-5ers, because for an entrepreneur, it really helps you attract new clients, new business opportunities, press, podcast, media. But for 9-to-5ers, it really helps you set yourself apart from potential people that you're competing with for jobs. It really helps you attract jobs because it puts on display your unique value, what you have to offer. I think people are getting stuck right now in the job application process because they're going on LinkedIn and they're doing the quick apply and they're not hearing back. And I think there's so many people applying because of how crazy the job market is. You have to stand out. And a personal brand is such a great way to do that. So of course, I'm the biggest personal brand advocate because I'm the coach and speaker for it. But I really do believe it's super valuable for anyone, especially in this day and age.
That's actually amazing, because really, I was thinking, obviously this is employee to entrepreneur. We're talking about that extraordinary journey, but I love that you've included personal branding as it applies to those who are building careers as well, because sometimes you get left out, but personal branding is important there as well. And Absolutely. So there's going to be some people who entrepreneurship is not for them. I love that you've included them and you're speaking to them so that they can build their careers if that's what feels most aligned to them. So that's exciting. That's super exciting. And I love that you have not left them out, because I know people who really love their jobs or, want to grow.
One last thing I want to add, because I'm so glad you said that. That is like, it's not just for the entrepreneurs. It's not just for the 9-to-5ers either. It's also for, I think, those of us that are aspiring entrepreneurs, because what a beautiful thing about personal branding is, and this is what I did, you get to sort of use it first as a testing ground to explore and experiment with different possible avenues, simply by creating content, seeing how it resonates with you, and then building your credibility. Once you have that, you use that for clarity and for now establishing your own credibility, now you have a way better and easier transition into entrepreneurship if that's what you choose. So again, I'm not going to keep advocating for it, but I really do think it's super valuable.
It's so brilliant because it's exactly what you did. It's exactly what
It
you
is what
did.
I did. It
Yeah,
is.
I love it. I love it so much. So this is the niche. I'm going to call it niche since you call it niche. It's the Niche Navigator
Everyone calls it
Masterclass.
something different, so whatever you prefer is totally
You
fine.
call it niche, it's niche now. The Niche Navigator Masterclass. I was chat. Listen, I've been calling Stephanie Steph Pins. I said that that sounds like a rapper name, so she's officially Steph Pins. Make sure that if
EP
you
dropping soon.
if you yo, Steph Pins is in the building. Drop one of Clue's bombs for Steph Pins. Brr, 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 brr. You listen. Steph Pins came through with the goods today.
Oh, you're
I want
funny.
to link people up with the eCornell link
Yeah.
that you mentioned because I didn't even think about that. I want to link them up with eCornell, and you can tell Professor Schroeder that
Professor
um
Streeter.
Streeter,
Yeah.
Professor Streeter, that DJ Steph Pins sent you on the ones and twos. You guys make sure you do a shout out and tell
Oh
her
god.
that
She's
Steph
like,
Penn
what?
sent you. She's
He's a
gonna be like,
DJ
"What?"
now?
But no, the Niche Navigator Masterclass is gonna be linked up for you guys. You can also find it in Stephanie's bio. It is are you Steph.Pinsley on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay, that's where I got it from because it's the dot I think that's getting me. Steph.Hensley on Instagram. Niche Navigator Masterclass is also in her bio. Of course, I'm going to link you guys up with all of the things plus the new bonus, which is that the mindset.
The mindset. Okay, so I'll have to send you the mindset activity,
Yeah.
which is on my Instagram.
Is it
So
on there too?
it
Okay.
is on Instagram.
Okay.
And then also eCornell. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I haven't honestly looked into how they're promoting it, so I don't know if it's still even being promoted.
Yeah, I don't know
Or if
either.
it's
Last I
open.
checked, there was a wait list for it. But
Yeah.
listen, send us all the things.
Yeah.
Send us all the things. I will make it easy for everyone in the VIP resource guide to get linked up with all the things that Stephanie recommends. This has been such a good conversation. And I encourage everybody to go and follow you because I love that you are, just purely talking about finding your own direction. And I think that's the navigator piece.
Yeah.
And that can absolutely be helpful for so many, no matter where you are in your journey, even if you are an entrepreneur already and you're thinking, you might want to pivot,
Mm-hmm.
working
Perfect place
through
to start.
working through that mindset is always going to be the place to start. So
Yeah.
this has been so good. I just want to ask before I let you go, what is next for you? Do you have anything like exciting coming up, some events
Yes.
or
I am really excited. I'm about to launch a brand new mini course that is really distilling all of my best kept secrets on how to build a strong foundation for your personal brand. So really understanding how to find your specific niche, how to identify your unique value, your content pillars, how to actually understand how to communicate your unique value so that you can attract all sorts of opportunities. So this is something I'm super excited about. And I'm also working on my video series still, Project Unstuck, where I interview people that have gotten unstuck in their careers with personal branding, as well as experts in things like burnout, productivity, personal brand growth, all sorts of things. So those are two things I'm really excited about.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I love finding out like in real time, like new and exciting things. So super excited for the mini course. Definitely, I'm gonna stay linked in so that I can be, at the forefront whenever you drop that. And I just appreciate you for just sharing everything that you have today. I am so excited for this. I know you're really going to make an impact on even more people than you have already. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Robin. It was so great being on. I appreciate you asking me.
Absolutely. I have to have you back and definitely I'll be following along. You guys, if you want to follow, make sure that you check her out. She's on Instagram, Steph.Pinsley. And what's your TikTok?
Steph.Pinsley.
Of course, the branding is on point.
Gotta keep it consistent.
You already know. Stefanie, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Oh, thanks, Robin.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Det var första gången vi möttes, våra blickar bara möttes. Kommer du ihåg det igen? Kommer du ihåg igen? Du vill ha icy little fingers, då du vet det chalas. All in, ingen broms, schackmatt på din vänster hand.